Hola, my lovelies. It's me, author Alexandria Infante, coming to you guys a little bit earlier today because it's YA Day. Now, the book we were going to read yesterday wasn't, it was more of a new young adult, I believe, but a new young adult as in the character was like 25, I think, which is really weird for me. But anyway, so I'm having like a really big issue with these YA books. YA now from when I was young is nothing like it is today. So I downloaded like a plethora of these books trying to find something that was truly YA and so that I would have enough time to read today, and that is so hard. So now I did finally find one where it opens and the character is 13, but then the issue is further through the book she turns 24. So I'm assuming it's like a transitioning YA, so I'm going to review it anyway, just not review the rest of the stuff. So I don't even know how I should I'm not even sure how I should mark this because the beginning is for kids, but then the end isn't. So I'm kind of it's just really weird because in my day YA was like the Babysitter's Club. That was romance, but then as they grew up, I don't think they went past 17. And now I totally understand in YA, it's new young adult. It usually has to do with like 18 and above, and like I believe it goes up to 24, so you could have like college students, you can have all that because they're still young adults. But the issue that I'm finding is that these books are not, I don't feel like an 18-year-old should be reading this, but then that's probably because I'm a mom. So I don't really know like how. I'm just appalled because my daughter turned 18. So she's going to be reading these books. And I'm just like, wow, they write like we do. Like, the adult romance fiction, because I was like really, really like floored with this book. So I'm going to I didn't have it was either this or I don't do the review for today because I didn't this was the one that I read. So basically it was that or nothing. And then we've missed some days on the channel, so and we haven't had a YA in a bit. So I had decided to go ahead and read a YA for today. So like I said, I can do a YA as long as they don't have, any of that stuff. Now, granted, this character is 24 when this stuff does go on. And so I kind of feel like it's not as bad because you know her from a child and then she grows up and then, she goes into whatever she's going in. So the end of the book, I will not be able to to describe on the channel today because today is YA Day. So that means that this day is for children, or for young people. But I'm actually gonna have to, do the video for adults because I don't want to be recommending this to somebody's kid. Like, 17-year-olds go out and buy this and then they're gonna be blaming me like, you tell my kid to buy this book. And so basically I'm gonna leave off the parental thingy today, and this review is geared toward 18 and above. Even though I feel like an 18-year-old is still a kid to me, that's probably because I'm a parent, but excuse me. Basically, I'm going to recommend, I will put in the comments down there 18 plus because of the span of 11 years with this character. So now tonight's book is called It's a Royal Guardians prequel novella. So basically, this is a series. It's called the Royal Guardians, and I really like the book. I'm going to recommend it for 18 and above because one, the character is multiracial. It's multicultural, so I really dug that, like, to begin with. The cover is beautiful, and then I feel like excuse me, as a mom, um I want to basically, and as an author, and especially a woman of color, I want to put out there, YA books that have to do with people like my daughters, my sons, people who are multicultural, who are Afro-Latina, who are African American, Chinese American, Hindi American, all of these cultures that people tend to forget that YA comes in as well, and they don't get the same amount of recognition as regular mainstream Caucasian YA. Trying to find an interracial YA, or a YA that had a character that was an indie author who had a character that was of color, was freaking insane. I mean, I downloaded book after book after book, and I actually bought some. One of the ones that I bought that wasn't a YA, I was completely shocked because that was not a YA book. And so it's labeled under YA, and then you're going to have like 17, 15, 16, 17-year-olds buying this book, and this book was nothing but sex. I'm going to review it on the channel, but I'm going to review it on one of the days that is for adults, because I feel like the author, she overstepped her bounds in this, because this book is not a YA book. And I'm like, as a parent, as a parent, I'm kind of like a little miffed about that, because she's labeled this book as a YA. And so if a 15-year-old gets hold of this book, it's like, yes, they have their parents, and their parents are supposed to be regulating them, but you also have a freaking obligation to not be doing that stuff, because it's not a YA. And so that really annoyed me, because I bought this book, and what if I would have bought it and just gave it to my daughter? Now my daughter, she is 18, so I can't control from now on what she watches, what she does. That's her business. She's about to go off to college, and I'm a little bit afraid about that. Especially since she picked a party school. I'm just like, why, Jesus, why, Lord? But anyway, and so, she's about to go off to college, so I can't regulate that stuff with her anymore. And that's she's growing up to be an adult. But this book is on Amazon for where anyone can get. There is no parental discretion. Yeah, she does say it in the book, but don't label that as YA then. It needs to be NYA specifically, so teenagers know this is 18 and above, so a 14-year-old doesn't get a hold to this. It needs to be, and I don't care if it's a different time period. I feel like that's one of the problems with American youth today. We give them way too much liberty to do whatever the hell they want, and there's no parental guidance anymore. And so a 15-year-old should not be reading that book. I'm sorry. They just shouldn't. Because you don't even read the Marquis de Sade, I believe, until you get maybe yours. I don't even know. It can't be. You don't get to read that until you're a freshman in college, or unless you just picked it up on your own and your parents don't know about it. So stuff like that, you still need to have labeling and parental guidance. And so, yes, it's in the book, but like, what real 15-year-old is going to stop because you said this book is not for them? It should not be with YA. If you want to consider it a YA, then it should be an NYA, and that automatically tells the reader that that's not for them. So this book is labeled as YA as well, and I don't like that either. It should have been an NYA, because an NYA stands for New Young Adult. And so we know that this character is going to be 18. So you can't start the book off at 13 and then jump to 24. That's insane to me. So, but I'll talk about that stuff once I'm done. But in the whole aspect of the book, I did like the book. I liked the premise of it. So now, tonight's book is called Young Queen. Look at that beautiful cover. It's a beautiful woman of color too. There you go. Okay, so now the book opens with Arden. Arden at the time is 13 years old. Basically, the kingdom is sort of like worn torn because for the last, I believe it was 15 years, it's pretty much been it's pretty much been trying they've pretty much been trying to take it over, this faction. And this faction is it's humans, but humans who don't want to align themselves with magic, warlocks, witches, any of that kind of stuff. And so they're pissed off and they want to basically kill the queen. And so her mother, Queen Odette, she has been ruling for the last 15 years pretty much by herself because her husband was killed 15 years ago, which is basically Arden's father. And now Arden is multiracial from what I got from the book, because just the description alone, she she has well, she's got sun-kissed, honey-colored skin, so I'm assuming, like, she's probably, like, maybe my color, maybe a little bit, lighter. And then, I'm so sorry, my throat is so scratchy and itchy. It's sort of like a middle kingdom. It kind of reminded me of Lord of the Rings, too. It's like a middle kingdom, because where they are isn't exactly Earth, but it's in the realm of Earth. And so Earth itself has basically wasted away. It's a wasteland, like they read about it in books and stuff like that, but it's still connected to a kind of Earth, which is the way I got it. And so on the other side of the kingdom would basically be the mortals. And so their two worlds are divided. And so because of this fact, the humans on the other side are pissed off, and they basically are on the hunt to like wipe out magic, warlocks, fae, witches, all that kind of stuff. And so now, centuries ago, her mother and her father's line were gifted with magic from elves. And so these elves basically gave them this magic, and they gave them a mark. And so each of them carry a mark, and that's pretty much where their power, it's sort of like, it kind of reminded me too of elemental witches, because they can pull from the earth, with that fae background, elven background, even though they aren't elven themselves, the elves gave them the power. So I kind of feel like they're elemental witches because they can pull from the earth. They can, make greenery. And so this kingdom itself has stayed in effect this entire time through magic, and then like a boundary where it sits on its own kingdom and on its own boundary with like a sort of like a force field, or something keeping this kingdom to itself. And then it has the human realms on the other sides of it. And so basically the humans are pissed off, and they want to get rid of magic, and they want to, basically tear down this kingdom. And so the mom has ruled all this time, and like she knows that she is going to be the next queen. And so her mom has tried in this time with her tutors and all these people to ready her for the throne. And so at 13, she feels like she's ready for the throne, but the mom is like, you still need protection. And she's like, no, I don't. And she's like, yes, you do. And so basically what she does is she, just 1 second. Okay. So then basically what the mom does is the mom calls in these 4 boys, and they are to be her personal guard. And so Arden is like, no, I don't need them. I can stand on my own, blah, 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 blah. And so the mom is like, yes, I understand that you feel that right now, but even I have a guard. And so basically she brings in these fresh-faced boys. One, like the oldest one, I believe is like 16 at the most. And so Arden's pretty much like, no, they can't protect me. They're boys. And so the mom is like, well, it's going to be your guard regardless. And so, so basically for like weeks on end, she pretty much tortures them. She makes them do all kind of stuff. And so Derek, okay, so basically they're Lucas, Alia, Wesley, and Derek. And Derek automatically had like an aversion to the whole situation. He didn't want to be there because they were in sort of like a military warlock school, because all of these boys are warlocks. And so they were sort of like in a military warlock academy, and they were learning the arts, and they were learning to protect the kingdom. And what the mom did is she saw how amazing they were at that young age, and the fact that they could wield their weapons like with precision like men. And the magic that they had was like this, on this insane level. So what she does is she plucks all four of them out of school before they've even finished, and she makes them her guard. And so basically, one day the mom calls Lucas, because Lucas is sort of like, Lucas isn't the oldest, but he's the one who took charge pretty much of them. And he's the one that keeps the peace and all this stuff. So they pretty much look at him. It's sort of like Captain America. Even though Captain America wasn't the actual leader of the Avengers, they pretty much gave him the reins and put him in charge. And then at some point, he pretty much became the leader. And so what he does is he keeps the peace, he does all that stuff. And so Derek is like really, really annoyed. He lost his parents to like the fighting, and then he pretty much watched them die. They killed his parents in front of him. And so he has like a sort of like this darkness to him, but it's not directed at Arden. It's just life in general, everything to him is like, what's the point? And so, and then Lucas, like I said, is the sturdy, backbone. And then you have Elia, who is the little sensitive, sweet one, because Elia, if I'm not mistaken, Elia is the youngest. He's only 14 at the time. And so that's why she was really like, no, what is he going to do for me? He's 14 freaking years old. And at the time, you also remember she's only 13. So, but, girls always have that superiority complex. Like, yeah, you're 13, you're a doof, you're 16. Yeah, I'm still so much more mature than you. And so basically, so they become her guard regardless. And so then one day the mom calls Lucas into her chamber or her study, and she's like, tell me, what she's really doing, because you can't stand here and tell me that my daughter is accepting this. And so he doesn't want to rat her out, but the mom knows. And so the mom tells him to put his hands out. And he puts his hands out. And then she gives him a mark. And what it does is it affects his whole being. And like when he looked at her, he's noticed the bags, the dark circles under her eyes. And it was like, okay, 2 seconds ago, she didn't look like that. She looked tired, but she didn't look this tired. And then so then basically the day progresses, and then later on that night, Arden wakes up to the sound of like mortar shells and all that kind of stuff. She's like freaking out, and then she realizes her mom is like, pretty much splayed across her bed, and so she starts freaking out. She's like, mom, and then she's weak. She can barely move. And then they have a conversation, and she tells her, you are to be queen. And she says all this stuff. And then Arden's just like, no, she's screaming for help. And then finally her guard comes in. And when her guard comes in, her mom says, take her. And then so Lucas is like, okay. And then Arden's like fighting. It's just like, no, what are you talking about? I'm not leaving my mom. And then the book, the mom is white. And so this is why I feel like this is a multiracial book, or the character is biracial or multiracial, because of the way that they describe the dad as well. And so the mom's like, take her. And then she's like pretty much fighting this little guard. And then Derek puts like the cloak on her, and he finally grabs her and he starts to spell her. And so, because this is the only way he can get her away from her mom. And so she's screaming. The mom's guard finally comes in. They pick her up, and like the mom like touches her face, and she tells her, go, I'm coming directly. And so she knew like something in her that her mom was lying. And so she was like, no, which I'd have been fine with my mama too. And so she was like, no. And then they find Derek continues to spell her. And so she's the mind that she has right now, because Arden is very, very powerful as well. Because one, it's true magic. She is the firstborn princess in this line. They haven't had any in like millennia. They were always married in, and so she is the firstborn, and so she's like, she has like this amazing power. And so, but she's not thinking right at the time, and then she's only 13, and then Derek is like probably 15, 16, and so he's had a little bit more training than she has, so he's able to spell her and to get her out of there, because this is what the mom wants, and him being her guard, he has to do what the queen says. And so they get her out, the running with her, and then all of a sudden she like gets like the sound mind, and she breaks away from them, and then she goes back running for her mom, because she's like, that's what she's saying, no, she hasn't come yet, she hasn't come yet. And so she gets away from them, and then this faction is like swarming toward her, and then she just starts going off, and she encases herself in like this bubble, and she just starts slaying them left and right, but she can't hold it because she's only 13 at the time. And so she falls finally, and like one of the faction people, these are all human, he's about to shoot her in the head with a crossbow, and then all of a sudden her guard shows up, and and then they pick her up, and she looks around, and it's just waste, where they just slayage, they slay them all. And so they run with her, and then they get to like this clearing, and then they set up for the night. And then as they look at her, they see the shine, and they see basically the crown appeared, so you know that her mom is actually dead. And so she has become queen at 13. And then that's where I'm going to stop, because the book jumps to 24. And everything that happens after 24 isn't for a YA day. It would actually be on one of the other days, which is why I'm saying I'm having an issue with this genre now, because of the fact of things like this. It jumps from 11 to 24, and it tells you pretty much about their relationship and the bond and what happened on that night, that day when the mom told Lucas to come into her study. She gave him her essence. The mark was her essence, and it was binding him to her daughter. And what Arden didn't know at the time was she did it for all 4 boys. And so I believe this book's going to turn to a reverse harem, because these 4 warlocks have become her guard, and they've been with her for the last 11 years. And so now there is a prophecy concerning this book as well. And so in order for Arden to become the queen that she needs to be and to save her people, she has to accept this prophecy. But the boys, like, no. So I'm going to stop there, because everything else after this becomes an NYA. And so I think, like, now, as much as I enjoyed this book was really good. I saw the world, the building, there were maybe 2 typos only. It's a short read because it's a prequel. And so she's getting you into the series. And so the cliffhanger that it has, it was very acceptable because it's a prequel. It's not an actual, this isn't the first, it's the first book of the series, but it's just a prequel. So she doesn't even label it as book 1, even though it sort of is. And then basically it is a short read. It was only, just one sec. This is also a freebie on Amazon right now. And like I was saying, you would find it under YA. My Kindle was acting really stupid. You would find it under YA. So that's the issue that I had with it, because it's in the YA genre, but it turns to, darn it. I'm not sure what's going on with my Kindle right now, but I believe it's 83 pages. I think so. Don't quote me on that because the Kindle's acting stupid, so it won't actually let me go to the page of the store. But I believe it's 83 pages. And for how Kindle marks these books so you can't really see how many pages it is, it does that, position 12,000 whatever. Yeah, so it's not actually saying, oh wait, no. It had pages for a second, but then it went back to that stupid. Oh, I really hate that because it's so annoying. It's like, I want to know how many. Here we go. Okay. So actually, it's 104 pages because she does put an excerpt. Another thing that I had an issue with. She does put an excerpt in the book, in the back of the book of the next coming the next book, which is The Mark of the Queen. But The Mark of the Queen is it's 145 pages and it's book 2 in the series, right? But the simple fact that, the character's in a club, this is an issue, and she's drinking, and this is an issue for YAs. It should not be in there. That's just my own personal opinion, and I guess maybe within the since I've been writing, last 9 years, they've let go of YA, and there's so much sketchiness that is there now, because 9 years ago, you never would have found a YA book like this. When I first wrote Midness Fairy Tale, which was 9 years ago, Melissa, which is a high school student at the time, she's 18. There was a scene where Midna and Callan are in the shower. When I was first shopping that book out, they basically told me I had to change her age. She needed to be 21 or they wouldn't accept the book, because of the fact that took it into another realm, and that she is a YA character. So she could not be viewing, even though she didn't see anything. There was nothing like that. She walked in the bathroom. She heard she heard the shower. She called her name. She was like, "Mid, are you in here?" And she's like, "Yeah." And then Midna's pretty much embarrassed because Callan is in the shower with her. He turns she goes to turn the nozzle, the water. And instead of turning the hot, she turns the cold, and he yells. And that's the only way she knows they're in the shower together. And so, because of that scene, I was told that I either had to take it out of the book or the character needed to be 21. So what's going on in this YA today is like seriously shocking me. I'm just like, maybe because I'm old, but I just can't fathom that. And so the book basically ends with the cliffhanger and this prophecy, but by now the character is 24. And so as a YA, I cannot recommend it as a YA. I can recommend it as an NYA because the book is really good. I could see everything in this world. Like I said, it reminded me of Lord of the Rings because you had Middle Earth, or the author didn't write it as Middle Earth, but it is basically what it reminded me of. And then you had warlocks and magic and all this stuff. And you could see, like, the wave magic from her hands, it turns this, she resurrects a flower. So you could see all of this stuff. And the author did an amazing job of making you see instead of just telling you what's there. She showed you this kingdom. And so I really, really like this book. I just have an issue with the fact that it goes from YA to NYA in the same book. It's like when I'm going to use one of my author mates as an example, SK. Because I love SK's book. It's so good too. Chosen by Two, The Chronicles of Takuri. Now this is SK's is a reverse harem book, but the first book tells you she did the same thing. She told you that, reader discretion, but it doesn't say in Miss, I didn't even say her name. That's terrible. The book is by Tori Smith, and Miss Smith didn't tell the readers that it was turning into an NYA. Whereas SK does. She tells you in the beginning that this book begins as a YA and then eventually becomes an NYA because it is a reverse harem. And so I feel like Miss Smith should do the same thing, because although her book is really, really good, it begins as a YA, and there's no like warning that, wow, this book just switches to 24 and there's sex in this book. And so that's going to be an issue for her. The book came out in, let's see. Actually, it doesn't say on the author page. Let me check I'm kind of feeling like she's a new author. Let's see. I'm kind of feeling like she's a new author. Let's see when this book came out. Oh wow, she didn't do a publication page. No copyright. No. Ooh, girl, that's wrong. You have to have your book copyrighted so people can't basically steal it from you. So I have no clue when this book came out, because she doesn't have any of that in the book. And so that kind of makes me know that she's a new author, because that isn't in here, and that should be in her book, as well as copyright information. And none of that is in here, so I'm feeling like, she might be a new author. Basically, yeah, I don't see it. So I can't actually tell you when this book came out. I mean, it has all of her stuff. There's 3 books to this series. Wow, that's really weird. That's really, really weird, guys. So I just feel like she's a new author. And so if anyone out there knows Miss Smith, it would be very, very good to let her know that she needs to put a disclaimer in the beginning of the book to state that this book goes from YA to NYA, because right now I kind of feel like it might be against Amazon's policy, and they don't know that this book is in the YA section, but it has sex and stuff in it like this. Like, even though like okay. Oh wow, no, it was released in 2018. So she should know better. I'm sorry. That's 2 years ago, the first book, and it's free. But yeah, so um and she's got some good reviews, because the book is good and I really liked it. Let me show you guys the cover again. I really liked it. I really felt this author, and like her world build up was amazing. And just everything that she did with these characters was seriously cool. But the fact that it's labeled as a YA, and just because the character is 13 when she starts out doesn't mean that it's a YA. It's sort of like as I was saying with SK, the character is 18. She starts out as she just turned 18. She's in her last high school. She's in her last year of high school. And once all the magic and all that stuff comes in, she's 18, but it tells you SK's is a reverse harem as well. But once you get to once you get to the excerpt from the next book, the entire book is YA. I think she might have said the A word and the D word in the book, but like no F-bombs or none of that kind of stuff that would make it go up from YA. And so she also labels it as an NYA to begin with. She doesn't put it even though it comes up in the YA genre, she labeled the book as NYA. And so after the prophecy, once she gets that prophecy, she knows that, I mean, you know, as the reader, that boom, they're 21 now, because the next excerpt tells you, she says in the prophecy, she has to do whatever she's doing, because I don't want to give out that away, with these two boys when she becomes 21. She has to marry one of these boys. And so basically, when you get the next excerpt, it's 21. And there's no bad stuff in that. She just shows you what happened to those two boys and this girl. And so basically, she needs to do the same. Or like Tiana Ray's book, Lily. The book starts when Lily is 8. So it could have been a YA because she's 8 years old at the time. And then it jumps. But this is an NYA, because Lily is 21 at the time that all of these things happen to her. And she has labeled the book as an NYA. And NYA means new young adult. So it's basically 18 and over. So Miss Smith cannot, Miss Smith cannot get away with this book as a YA. It's not possible, because there is actual sex in the book. Actual sex. So that takes it up to 18. And so I just feel like she needs to revise that. But other than that, there were barely, I think I saw maybe 2 typos. The world building, the book itself is amazing. And I just wish I could promote it more. I would be able to promote it more if she raised that to NYA. But right now on a children's channel, I can't. I can say it's an amazing NYA, but not a YA. It's not a YA at all. Anyone under 18 should not be reading this book. That's protocol for YA authors, which is the reason why I don't touch YA, because I can't write a YA and not put that kind of stuff in it, which I would feel weird anyway. So, NYA. This book is an NYA. It is not a YA. I don't care how it's labeled on Amazon. It isn't. It's a NYA. And so that's pretty much to this review. I would really like you adult readers, 18 and above, to go out and get this book, because it's awesome. It's multicultural. 2, it's interracial. That all the elements to this book are amazing, and it's so good. The world builds up, everything. I want 18 plus to go get this book, support this author, and maybe even give her a gentle, hey, this should be NYA. So she gets more billing, she gets more, people are more accepting. And so the book was 101 pages, and it is the first book, the prequel to this series called The Royal Guardians. So you guys make sure you go out there and get this book. It's amazing. So now tomorrow's author, because I still haven't gotten my plug yet, we're still doing the Amazon downloads. Now, this book, I just have to show this cover to you guys, because I was like, well, actually, you know what? Never mind. I'll show it to you tomorrow, because I can't show it to you today. So now tomorrow's author is going to be, we're going to be reading author Thayer King's Chatting with a Vampire. This actually sounded kind of funny. I bought this. All of these books, well, the one we just did, from the Royal Guardian series, it's actually free on Amazon right now. So you can go and pick that up for free, which is why I want you to, not just because the book is amazing. I mean, it's free, but the book is amazing, which is the real reason why I want you to go and pick it up. And now tomorrow we will be reading Thayer King Chatting with a Vampire. You guys can see that. And this is an adult book. And once again, please make sure you guys go, those of you that are 18, go and pick up The Young Queen, the Royal Guardian series novel, or novella, prequel novella. Go pick it up, because it's really good. That's the cover, once again. And that's pretty much it to this review. I will see you guys tomorrow with a new review. Also, make sure to like, subscribe, and share. Share these videos because we are the only indie author channel out there. I've gone through them. I haven't found one yet. If you guys have, put it in the so we can go head to head. No, I'm just joking. But we pretty much do this for readers. And to showcase indie authors who otherwise wouldn't get the promos that they need. Indie authors have to pay for most of their promos. If it's not free, then they have to pay for it. And stuff like Facebook and Twitter, it doesn't garner you readers because people get tired of seeing them. Like maybe out of 100 clicks, you might get maybe 10 people, if that, who actually went and clicked on through to your book to see what the book is about. And then that doesn't even guarantee that they actually buy it. So it's the worst form of trying to platform yourself as an author. And then all the other services, they charge. You have to pay for them to get your book out there. Book FOMO is pretty much the only one, but you still have to pay to be a part of the book FOMO world. So you're paying anywhere from $20, which gets you nothing. It just gets you on their platform and you get to offer your book for free or get into a sales. But the thing with that is you don't get any reader information, any reader contact. So you're going to wind up having to pay either $100 for the full subscription, which actually allows you to have contact with the readers and emails and that kind of stuff. And it's only for 2 pen names. And if you are people like me, I have 2 pen names. I have Alexandria Infante and then I do Ali Infante. And so basically, but if you're someone who has like 3 or more pen names, then you're going to wind up paying $250 for it because then you get 3 pen names. And so I don't think there's a platform that goes above 3 because they pretty much figure, I guess no one wants to do more than 3 names. But I actually know someone who has 5 pen names. And so basically, unless it's a platform like that, you're paying for. Unless those are the kind of platforms that you have to deal with as an author. So that's the main reason why we started this channel, so we could give indie authors a platform as well. So that's pretty much it to this review. Don't forget to subscribe. Click that little icon. It's either over there or over there. I think this is the videos and that's the subscribe icon. And then click that little bell down there, which lets you know every time we upload a video and you get it straight up. And don't forget to like and share. And that's it. I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.